Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of RockerMike and Rob Presents. That's Rob to the left, and then we have a special guest today, the Winged Knight of Heavy Metal, okay? The honorary, legendary Rik Fox.
Thank you. I'm not legendary. I'll take iconic, but not legendary.
Okay, then I'll add iconic to that. All right.
I haven't earned legendary status.
All right, so it's great to have you here, Rik. And we're going to get into a lot of things here with your life. You've had a fascinating musical career.
Thank you. If only somebody I knew felt that way.
No, really. No, I mean, I knew a little bit about you, but just, digging into everything, preparing for the show, I found out quite a few things I didn't know. And
that's a funny line I quoted from the film Arthur when he falls out of the limousine.
Yeah, well, you know what? I love that movie, and I should have realized what you were saying. That's a great line. That's a great line.
It's a great line.
Yep.
Yeah, I tap a lot of films.
Yeah, the remake did it no justice. You got to watch the original.
Yep.
It's like watching Blazing Saddle for the first time. You're like, holy fuck, this is great.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So you were raised in Brooklyn, Greenpoint to be specific. I know the area very well.
Yep. That's Greenpoint is now like has been the new Bohemia.
It started in Williamsburg, and I was actually living on Havemeyer Street in the very early 90s when all that was happening. And Havemeyer Street.
Mike,
what?
Can you move to the side a little bit because your face is blocking? If you see, yeah, right, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
Sorry.
All right,
so
keep going now.
I was living down there when all that was starting, so I saw all those people coming in droves, man. It was amazing.
Well, all the rich hippies coming in and renovating all the old the dock front buildings and all of that, all by the waterfront, and then it's starting to develop all of that. And then next thing you know, it's like two broke girls everywhere.
Yeah, and nobody can afford to live there. Nobody can afford to live in the area anymore. Pushing out the middle class, working class people. Greenpoint's always been a Polish neighborhood. Okay, obviously your background.
Yeah,
and I always liked the area.
Look what they did in Red Hook. Same shit. Red Hook.
Same thing.
Even afford it. Red Hook used to be projects, and you would go there.
Yeah, we had Italians in Greenpoint too. It wasn't just. I mean, it's predominantly Polish, but we had a mixture there.
Sure. Now it's a mixture of people from California, Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah,
that's all you got. It's just people not from New York. That's all the city is now. But in your time growing up, when you were a teenager, I guess that would be the early 70s. It was quite different, working class neighborhood. And you had an interest in rock and roll, but also photography, I understand. Is that correct?
That's true. When I got into high school, my dad got me a camera, German camera, which is like, I don't know if it's top of the line, but it had great lenses on it.
Right.
And I had joined the photography club in high school. So we're talking like 72, Bishop Lachlan over by Fort Greene.
Right.
And there's a giant Rob hand on the screen. There we go.
There we go.
So I joined a photography club amongst all the other art courses that I could take into school. And that gave me access to all the film I could get my hands on for free.
Awesome.
Which was great. All the developing chemicals, the lab in the school, everything. So I was like a shooting fool. I was taking pictures, everything I could think of that would make an interesting framed subject.
Yeah.
And once I started to find out about the rock clubs, I'd go take the camera with me. I'm still underage. I'm in high school.
Sure.
But if you dress like the bands do, dress kind of flashy, they think you're a supporter of the scene.
It was easy to get in.
It's great camouflage, and I show up with the camera, and they go, "Well, let's see your ID." And I somehow made up a fake ID. I don't remember what it was, but I said I'm here to shoot the bands, and they went, "Oh, okay." So like that, and come in, and I would shoot, the Brats and the bands playing Coventry and stuff like that. So
I was going to bring up Coventry because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump over the Greenpoint Avenue Bridge right over there into Sunnyside.
Yeah,
right? So
your audio sounds like Darth Vader right now.
Oh, really? Okay, we'll come back. But so you were hanging out at Coventry, and obviously one of the most famous bands to get a start there was Kiss. And I know you have a strong connection with that band.
Yes, I did. I lived on North Henry Street between Nassau and Norman Avenues.
Right.
And out of Williamsburg, Peter Chris's family moved in.
Right.
And they were around the corner from me on Monitor Street. And the thing in Greenpoint is almost every corner has a bar on the corner.
It's still like that.
Yeah. It's still like that. So they lived upstairs over a bar, and they didn't have a backyard. If you go out their kitchen window, it was like a paved roof.
Yeah.
And that was over a bunch of parking spaces, structures, one level parking structure below that. So that was kind of like their backyard was out on the roof. And if we go up the ladder on a second roof over the whole entire building, Peter's father had a pigeon coop, and a lot of old Italian guys, they raise pigeons.
Sure.
Yeah. And he'd go up there and pigeons would fly around for half an hour, and then he'd come back, and that was his hobby. And so that's where they lived, was around the corner. And I used to see Miss Criscola walking back and forth up and down the street, when they go grocery shopping with the girls.
Right. And
they didn't look like they fit. They stood out from what everybody else in the neighborhood looked like,
Okay.
So, and I mean by that, the girls wore, the tight T-shirts and tight jeans, and other people our age in that neighborhood didn't really dress like that,
Yeah.
So, but every time they went by, Mrs. Criscola would, I'm in the areaway, in the gate area in front of my house, or sitting on the stoop. She'd go by and she'd go, oh, hi, like that, real polite and nice like that. And it was a while before I actually even approached the girls to talk to them. They'd be playing ball with them by themselves down the street on the corner, and so one thing led to another, and we broke the ice and conversation and yada, yada, yada like that. And then I started hanging out with them, and they said, well, our big brother, Peter, he's a rock star. Whoa.
Well, Peter at that point, was Kiss started yet, or he was in his earlier stuff?
No,
Chelsea. Right?
He had just come out of Chelsea.
Okay.
They gave me a copy of the album, and they were kind of like a heavier version of the Grateful Dead, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard some of that stuff.
There's a lot of exploratory, jamming and stuff like that on there. I mean, I like the songs. I like some of this stuff. What it reminded me of is after Blue Cheer, which was one of the loudest bands in the world,
right?
Blue Cheer all of a sudden changed their whole formula, and they started to sound like the Grateful Dead. Yeah,
they did.
And some of the stuff on the Chelsea album reminded me of Blue Cheer when they went for the Grateful Dead route, like that, like ballady, and if they didn't really have the techniques where they record hard rock now. Back then, everything was all different. So when they tried to play hard rock, it sounded like an amateur band trying to, in my opinion, trying to play hard rock. If they were a good band and everybody was musically great, Peter told us that him and Mike, his bass player, they were like a machine.
Yeah.
But what happened was, I guess they were at a party somewhere, and Mike committed suicide. He jumped out a window, and that hit Peter pretty hard. He never really got over that,
Yeah.
So that was him just getting out of Chelsea, but he'd come over and visit, his parents and whatnot, and that's where I got to meet him. And sure, the guy looked like he was right out of Rolling Stones. He loved John Lennon. He loved the Rolling Stones. He was a rock star.
Well, how long until Kiss was getting together at that point? Maybe a few months, a year.
Well, that'd be like between 72 and 73.
Okay,
I was going from a sophomore to a junior in high school, and he had put out the ad in Rolling Stone and Village Voice saying drummer willing to do anything to make it.
Right,
and then that's when Gene and Paul saw his ad, called him up, and so the three of them were jamming together, or playing together out there at their loft.
Wow.
Now, speaking of lofts, I know you went to a lot of gigs, took a lot of pictures. Were you at the famous First New York City gig by Kiss at the Bratz Loft?
No, I missed that one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I saw the flowers, but I didn't go.
Yeah, I was very good friends with Rick Rivets, and he used to talk about that gig a lot.
Yeah, Rick was a friend of mine. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, very good guy. I miss him a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and at that time, 73, you still had the Dolls, the Bratz was starting, Kiss was beginning to rev up, and then soon after that, the punk scene. Now, what was your opinion of the punk scene when it started? Were you into it or no?
Not particularly. I mean, I was friends with the Ramones, but I mean, we were all friends with each other in the club scene, you know. Yeah. So we all supported each other. But punk wasn't something I was overtly into. When I got into the Martian rock band, we were looking back, we were part rock, I guess part punk. Sebi, our guitar player, I said, how would you classify Martian rock band in the time of Max's and CBGB's?
Yeah.
And he said we were
Max's Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, we were a space band and we were a punk band. He says we were a spunk band.
So, that's a new genre right there. That just got invented. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, hold on. Rick, I heard that you were like a big Steppenwolf fan. That's what really got you into the whole business. That's
true. Yeah. Before MTV and before a lot of all those kind of shows, when I used to go visit my mother out in Long Island, she had a house in Long Beach. And they used to play this stuff like from 2 in the morning on till, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning. One of the shows was called the Now Explosion. And they would show videos. Some were rock, some were just thematic, conceptual stuff.
Yeah.
To whatever the songs were that were like on the radio, but it was in a video format. And so I started to get hip to listening to this stuff. My mother had a huge rock album collection.
Really?
Because the guy she married the second time after they split up with my father, I'd go over for visitation rights, you know.
Yeah.
So the guy that she married, John Knox, was a partner with his partner, this guy Dean, and they owned and managed 2 rock clubs out in Long Island.
Wow.
And what the hell were they called? Timothy Tubbs Loaf and Tankard, I think, was one of them. Long Island clubs had names like that.
Yeah.
And the other one was Dean's College Inn. And they managed 2 rock bands. One was Liquid Smoke on Avco Embassy, and the other was the Unspoken Word on Atco, which was Atlantic.
Yeah.
Both bands were fucking great.
Really?
Great for their time. They Liquid Smoke did the first cover of Hard to Handle that I've ever heard.
Wow.
Before, decades before the Black Crowes.
Right, obviously, yeah.
And a lot of bands back then did a lot of covers on their albums,
Yeah.
So like that was an accepted thing. The Beatles started recording, other people's material for their early releases.
Yeah,
so
the Beatles did covers, yeah.
Yeah, so my mother had this huge record collection, and I started listening The Doors, and whatever other hard rock stuff they had in her collection. And that's how I kind of got exposed to it. And one day I'm watching, I don't know if it was American Bandstand or Hullabaloo, one of those rock shows, and Steppenwolf came on.
Fantastic.
And of course John Kay's wearing his black leather and
sunglasses.
Sunglasses, and I always said John Kay looks like he sings like he's the tallest guy in a short room because he's always bent over.
Yeah, bent over the mic. Yeah, that's true.
Long before Axl Rose did the Serpentine thing, John Kay was doing that.
That's true.
So their bass player Nick St. Nicholas, he's got this blonde curly hair and a buckskin jacket with fringes on it and leather pants, and he's playing a Rickenbacker, and he's just kind of like, like that. I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty cool. I think that's what I want to do. I want to be a bass player like this guy, and that's how it started. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, when did you get the band Sin together?
Sin came out of another band. After the Martian rock band folded, we played, like I said, we played Max's and we played CBGB's. We played a couple other places, and I got contact. Oh, it seems like my default thing between bands was I'd go back and I'd be working down in the Village on 8th Street.
Yeah.
For people who know where that is, right next door to Electric Lady Studios, there was like this little. There was a theater, little theater. Excuse me. And then right next to that was this clothing store, and I was working in there.
Right.
I think it was called Lady Aerosmith. And in walks these people. Is a rocker guy with his girlfriend or his wife, whatever. And I got the hair, I got the look, the whole do and whatnot. Right. I definitely look like a rocker. So that's an icebreaker right there. People start having a conversation.
Sure.
And I says, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a bass player." And he goes, "Oh," and he looks at the girl. She looks at him like they knew something, and he's like, "Well, our band's looking for a bass player." This is the start of where I find myself almost every band I was in, I was replacing somebody else's bass player. Their guy was doing the job, but for whatever reason, there was something missing. And then people would walk into my life and go, "Well, why don't you come and play with us?" And I'm replacing all these bass players. Now,
that's not a bad job.
Well, thanks. I mean, I wasn't that great. I was still kind of new. I had no formal training. I couldn't tell you A from F from I played the records and I try to learn to play along with them. Right. Yeah. And so this guy contacts me and he says we set up an audition in Manhattan. They were a band from Jersey called Virgin. Yeah. And he set up an audition in Manhattan on neutral ground. I didn't have a car to get to Jersey.
Yeah.
So I go in the bathroom. I'm kind of like doing my hair thing like that. And in walks this guy. He's like 6 feet tall. He's wearing platforms, even tall. And he's doing eyeliner and he's touching up his hair. I don't know that it's the singer from the band that I'm about to audition for. And I got kind of a little nervous because he's a little too close to me. I don't know what this.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know what his intention is. He looks like Bowie, a little bit like Bowie,
Yeah,
But his look was polished, like that. And we, a couple of small words here and there, blah blah blah. And then he leaves, and I walk out and I go into the audition room, and here he is. He's the singer.
Wow.
So that was Ian Chris, who later on went to play with a band called Foxy, and now he's with Rock Candy.
Yes.
And like that. So Ian gave me my my second break. Sebby Castle gave me my first break with the Martian Rock Band. He was patient. He taught me stuff, and that helped a lot. So I'll go and audition for Virgin, and it's like, Alice Cooper, Kiss songs, it's all glam cover stuff.
Right.
And I guess by the end of the audition, Ian's a seasoned pro. I hadn't played Jersey clubs yet, and I'm playing, and the guy comes over to me, and he's, how in Kiss, like Gene would go over and straddle Ace's legs when they're playing.
Yeah.
Like Ace would be playing like this, and then Gene would come over and do this, and he'd be like,
yeah.
Ian was doing stuff like that, and I'm kind of freaking out because I don't know if he's going to make contact with me,
Yeah, you weren't used to that.
Yeah, no. So anyway, the audition went okay, and then from what he told me, he says the guitar player don't want you. He goes, but I want you, and my voice overrides everybody else's. So he told the guitar player, I don't care, do whatever it takes, teach this guy. I want him in the band. Period. That's it. It's not open to discussion. So I guess whatever it factor I had got me in the band, and they were driving from Jersey, and the guitar player, he was driving up from South Jersey, from like the shore.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, and then he'd come over to my house in Brooklyn down the basement, and he would teach me the songs and stuff. So that went on for a little bit until they showed me where they had a rehearsal studio in a garage in Belleville.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'd have to go into the PATH train, and they could pick me up at Journal Square, and then, I don't know, about 15, 20 minutes into Belleville, and there was a rehearsal studio there, and I was rehearsing with them there at that location, until they started having internal struggles with their other guys in the band and whatnot. But they had me come in and replace that bass player, and we did a few shows as Virgin. We played the Red Fox Inn. I think it's down in Brunswick, not far from Emmett's.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like that. We played Mr. L's in Bayonne. We try to we kept it not well. I don't say we keep it local, but
you played the Stone Pony?
No, not with Virgin.
Not with Virgin.
No. And I had a drive with whoever had a car, and I didn't really have a way to get my amps around.
Yeah.
I had an SVT after a while. So I didn't have a car, so that kind of put a crutcher on it. But the guitar player's brother was the drummer, and he worked in a bank during the day, and he used to wear a long hair wig for the gigs. He says, "Well, I'm tired of this. I can't keep getting up at after the gig at 4 a.m. and I get 2 hours sleep, and I got to quit the band." So he quit the band, as we were called Lust. Virgin changed to Lust.
Virgin became Lust, right?
Right. Okay. I told Ian, every time we change members, it's like, is it the same band, or are we going to be a new band? And
you were doing the same songs and everything.
Yeah. But the California band Virgin didn't know what we were using the name before them.
Oh,
see, Bill LaCoin was managing a band in California called Virgin. He used to open up for Sean Cassidy.
Oh wow, okay, that I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah. So we were using the band name first. They were already established. There was a picture of them down at the Jersey Shore on the boardwalk in Rock Scene magazine, like that, And they had an Alice Cooper show with the Snake. We did Bowie. We did Mott the Hoople. All the glam stuff that was coming over from England. That's what we did.
Wow, that's some of my favorite music.
I mean, and you play huge platform boots. We had all of that. That looked good. So there was a guy that I knew from Max's that I hung out with. He was a drummer from Queens, Stan Bissell. And he went by the name Basil Stanley. He was friends with Gene and Paul from the college days when they were all hippies.
Yeah.
Wow. And I said to Baz, hey, our band could use a drummer. You want to join? And so he came and auditioned, and he got the gig. So now I have a ride coming in from Queens, stopping in Brooklyn, pick me up and into Jersey.
A little bit easier, definitely. So
that worked out. Yeah. So by late '76, early '77, I came up with the name Sin. Now there was no way to check, the internet back then.
There was no internet, right?
You're right. It was, so nobody else was using the name. So I drew up a logo with a snake like an S.
Yeah.
An apple with a bite as the I, like that. And we were playing with the biblical version of sin like that, because it's temptation. That's what we were.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And that's when Sin was born, 77. And then by that time, we'd moved over to there was a famous rehearsal place called The Bank in Jersey City, right off the water.
Okay.
As soon as you get off the PATH train, the first stop, you get up, walk upstairs, walk across the street, and there was this old bank. And it was full of all these, lofts or big giant rooms that were all abandoned.
Yeah.
And bands were rehearsing in this bank, so that's where we rehearsed, like that. And that's where Sin started, And we played Jersey. We played. We were the last band to play the Rolling Stone Club in the Bronx.
Oh wow! Okay.
Wow.
That was a famous place.
We played there.
Yeah.
We played the show. We played the Chatterbox. I think it was the Chatterbox. At one point, we swapped drummers. The singer came in who also played drums, and his cousin played the female lead in the Sergeant Pepper movie. Okay.
Oh, God. So, yeah. The one with the Bee Gees in it and everything. Yeah. Man.
Sandy Farina. Wow. She played Sandy Farina. Yes. And so we got a gig down at the Chatterbox down in on the shore. And who shows up at our show but Mighty Max Weinberg.
No kidding.
From Springsteen's band.
Springsteen's band, yeah.
Right. And we invited him up if he wanted to come up and play a set with us. Now he had no idea. We had a Rolling Stones medley.
Okay.
He had no idea of the changes, where the cues or anything like that. He got up and I played with Max. I played with Max fucking Weinberg, like as if we had to play together for years. He followed all the cues like bam, 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 bam. So that was my first time playing.
That's when you know you're playing with a pro.
Yeah, and I, I'm no Will Lee. I'm not like Mr. Adept or anything like that. But that's the first famous guy I ever played with. Was what Max Weinberg.
Right.
So
that's impressive.
Well, it was, I'm standing there with my jaw open going, I'm playing with Max friggin' Weinberg.
Yeah, that's amazing when that kind of stuff happens. Just as a side note, I mean, even like my buddy Rick Rivets, your buddy, you know, he had a story where he played with one of the guys from the Animals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know, and he just says I couldn't believe I was playing with that guy. You know, I mean, it's just he was blown away by that.
It's one of those pinch me moments.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, that happened years later when I played with Sam Kinison.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No shit. Did you do Wild Thing or something with him? What you do?
That's exactly what we played.
Yeah.
My manager at the time, I had a band called Thunderball.
Uh-huh.
And my manager was managing Randy Hansen, who does the Hendrix tributes.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So, and Randy Hansen, it was Sam's guitar player for Sam's band. See,
Okay.
so when Sam's doing Vegas or whatever his show, Randy is his main guitar player.
Right.
So Kenny Rubin calls me up and he says, "Hey, you want to jam with Sam?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "Get down to the China Club right now." It's just like Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Holy shit, the China Club. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought of that place in a while.
So I get down there and they're there. They're, you know, it's early afternoon. And he said, "You know, you want to play the early show or the late show?" I said, "The late show." And he said, "Okay." So, you know, we're hanging out downstairs in the green room in the bar and like that. Then they did the show, and then there was an intermission. And then little by little, people started to go back upstairs. I lost track of, I don't know what was going on because I hear the band through the floor. Like I hear, you know, playing upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, well, I'm supposed to be up there playing right now. Nobody said anything to me. So I grab my bass. I go upstairs. I'm standing on the side of the stage. Thank God that the bass tech was a friend of mine. And he knew I was supposed to be playing. I look up on the stage, and Jimmy Bain is playing. He jumped in my spot and took it. Right? So the bass tech guy turns around, he looks at me, and he looks up at Jimmy, he goes, "Wait," he goes, "You're supposed to be up there right now."
Yeah.
I said, "Duh."
No kidding.
So he goes, wait a minute. As soon as the song ended, the lights went down, Sam's talking to the audience. He grabs Jimmy by the shoulders, pulls him off the stage, puts him down on the floor, unplugs his bass, plugs my bass in, pushes me up on the stage. He goes, "Go," like that. And there's Jimmy Bain. Jimmy Bain's down there on the floor going, he's drunk off his face, going, "What's going on, man? What happened? Why am I not on the stage?" You know, like that.
Holy shit.
Sammy looks over at me. He goes, "Ready?" And I went, "Yeah." And we launch into Wild Thing. This is when I say it's a pinch me moment. Not only am I on stage with Sam Kinison, which is a wow factor,
Sure.
you know, like that. Over from Randy's side of the stage, from stage right all the way over towards me on stage left. You ready? You sitting down? We got little Steven Van Zandt on guitar.
Oh, wow.
Jean Beauvoir on another guitar.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Randy Castillo on drums.
Mm.
You know, from Ozzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the keyboard player's name. It's Robin something. And over on the other side of the stage, a very inebriated John Goodman on blues harp. So Wild Thing was a little longer than normal.
Yeah, the 20-minute version, right?
But yeah, and I'm on stage with all of these freaking legends going, "This can't be happening," and it was a hallmark, you know. I was like, I can't believe it, and I don't have not one picture.
No, really, you know, isn't it such a shame that before we all had iPhones or smartphones, how many times we could have taken pictures, and you look back. I know I do. If I had a cell phone back in 1983, I'd have the most awesome pictures. But
make no mistake, there were cameras in the room. It looked like a night sky full of rhinestones. It was that many cameras going off.
Wow.
Right.
And I don't have picture one from anybody who took.
Not one person gave you a picture. That sucks.
I got a picture of me and Sam downstairs in the green room. And he's got his his bandana on. And he's got his arm around me. That's the only picture I have. So,
wow. What were you gonna say, Rob?
This day, the most iconic person. I'm in Arlene Grocery one day, hanging out watching bands, and David Bowie stands right next to me. I go, "My God, that looks like David Bowie." And my buddy goes to me, "That is David Bowie." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
had a camera, I could have taken a quick picture with David Bowie. He was
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Like, it was amazing to just.
They,
And the guy wasn't even that tall, but it was just like, it's David Bowie.
they call those brushes with greatness.
Yes,
Yeah, it was
that would be.
I thought I was going to get to meet Bowie when I was in the Martian rock band because the whole Ziggy thing was still huge.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Wow.
And the guy that took our pictures for Rock Scene magazine was Lee Black Childers.
Ah,
so Lee worked for Main Man for Bowie.
Right. He was behind the Wayne County signing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Lee loved us. He said, I got to get David to come see you guys. But it unfortunately never materialized. So, but they loved the whole Ziggy thing we did.
Were you friends?
But I wasn't really like close friends with these guys. They have a different mental outlook than what I had. I was still young, kind of.
Yeah.
I was like going down the rabbit hole, but I knew enough to stay away from people who did heroin.
Yeah, well,
and I didn't have that. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that was a whole different scene.
There was a whole heroin mentality to some of the players that I didn't want to get involved with, or like that. So, I mean, I was friends with Neon Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And he was living at the Chelsea Hotel. Our first show with my professional debut at Max's, we supported Neon Leon's band, and he let me play through one of his Marshall stacks.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So
was that on Halloween? Did you do the debut on a Halloween show?
Yeah, I think it was it was October like 30. Hasn't been 30th, I think, at Max's. Yeah.
But I saw you were talking in an interview. You were saying that you debut on Halloween. I said that's fucking awesome, man. That's meant to be where you're like a guy like that, and you say debuting Max's on Halloween, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Let me ask you another. Do you ever play in CBGB? Since you did play in Max's, was there a difference between the Max's and CBGB crews?
Huge difference, especially in the way the whole clubs were shaped like that. And of course, there's the famous Max's story of
because
they don't have a bathroom that you can go for the bands. It's like out in the open. There's no privacy.
Right.
And there's a funny story when AC/DC played there in like 76 or 77 when they first came out.
Yeah, that was a surprise show, I think.
I played CBGBs before AC/DC. Imagine that. But the record people were trying to get backstage to meet them, and they saw all these little, 4.5, 5 foot tall guys with the band. He thought they were a bunch of kids, and Bon Scott was standing there. They were all blocking him. So he was trying to pee into a can because there was like no functioning toilet.
No private place to go. Well, CBGB's was legendary for that. We played actually that AC/DC show you're talking about. I think was a surprise show.
Yeah, and Bon Scott carried Angus around through the crowd on his shoulders.
Yes, right.
We played.
Just cracking me up.
We did a big New Year's Eve show there. It was like 6, 7, 8, 9 bands or something like that. So that was pretty interesting. I mean, not only was the club packed, but the whole backstage area, if you can call it that was packed. So it was like you pretty much shoulder to shoulder the whole night.
What was your friendship with the Ramones like? Were you friends with Joey, or who were you more friends with?
Yeah, I knew Joey had come out of a glitter band called Sniper.
Sniper, right.
So he made the transition from being a glam guy to being, Joey Ramone. I knew Dee Dee. I passed Johnny once in a while at Max's, but it was just like a quick hi, but not like hi, how you doing, hi.
Yeah.
So I mostly just knew Dee Dee because we were both bass players.
Sure.
Like that, and Joey. So if you go into Max's back then, it doesn't matter what night of the week it was shoulder to shoulder. It was packed.
Yeah.
So you got to like kind of negotiate, swim through the crowd. And you're gonna pass somebody, and you got to say hi and like that. The only place you had room to breathe was over by the table, so you could sit down and get something to eat. You had to have money to do that. Not everybody had money to go sit down.
Sure.
Everybody talks about that, not having money to be able to sit, because there were people that would just order water. There was one band that we talked to that were hanging out there. but they were ordering water and stuff like that.
Well, everybody would eat the chickpeas that were out on the table.
Yeah.
They would throw them. They would have
chickpea fights.
Yeah,
I'd heard about that.
There's my Ace Frehley Rik Rivett story that took place at Max's. I don't know if you know that.
Tell us.
Well, when you go into Max's, you can go straight up the stairs. It goes up to the dressing rooms. You kind of like take a right, and Peter's offices were back there, like that, and whatnot. So whenever Ace was in town, he would call up Rick and say, "Come on, let's go." They were hanging out buddies.
Yeah, they were friends.
Right. So Ace had one of these. It wasn't like a laminate. It was a plastic laminated card that said, "My name is Ace Frehley from the band Kiss. If found, please mail to." And it would have like a coin management like that, and contact information to send it to. So they're up at the top of the stairs. Ace is 3 sheets to the wind as usual.
Yeah,
and you can hear that hysterical laugh anywhere.
Right, right. Okay?
And he'd crack these jokes, and he'd crack himself up and laugh and bust up laughing.
Yeah.
So he backed himself up. They had those. I don't know if they were like 50-gallon plastic trash cans that they'd, when they throw out the bags of trash. They had a couple of cans sitting there. So there's a scene in the Laurel and Hardy film, March of the Wooden Soldiers, where Santa Claus is laughing so hard, he falls backwards into it, and he can't get up.
Yeah.
He falls into a bucket.
I remember.
Ace backed up. He fell backwards, ass first, into this can. Now you got Ace's head and his arms sticking up like this, and his feet like this sticking out of the barrel, and his ass is, and he can't get out.
He can't get out.
He's like a hermit crab. He's stuck in there. and just like Dudley Moore and Arthur, the fact that you find what has happened to you is so funny, it perpetuates. You keep laughing.
Yeah.
It's like, look, Bitterman, I fell down. Isn't that the funniest thing you ever seen? Ace is like, look, I fell in the can. Isn't that hysterical? And Rik Rivett is there, and everybody was laughing. It was just drawing a crowd up the stairs. Me and Rick, and I don't know who else, we trying to lift Ace to get him out of the can.
Yeah.
And he's stuck. He's wedged in there.
Right.
And the only way to get him out is you got to turn him face down and lift the can up off his ass.
That's the only way to do it.
And now he's laying on the floor with his drink, and he's rolling all over the place laughing. It's too bad Rick passed away, because I'd love to have him validate that story.
I think he did tell me that story a little less detailed than you just did, but I mean, he did mention that story as Ace falling into the garbage pail. But he told me some other stories about Ace that I don't even want to. I'll tell you privately. That just stuff that never made any books or anything like that. They were buddies for a while.
Yeah.
Cool. But let's change gears a little bit. We're going to flash forward a couple of years exactly, okay? And I know you've talked about this ad nauseum for many years, but let's talk about Wasp and how you ended up out there in California. I know you were with a band called Aggressor, and you got a call from Blackie Lawless. What went down with that?
Well, I had been playing just before Aggressor. I was playing for about a year and a half with the E. Walker band, and they were like, all the bands in the Jersey club circuit, Long Island. We were like live jukeboxes, essentially. Your job is to keep people in the bar and drinking, so like that. And I was playing 6 nights a week, 4 or 5 sets a night, the whole Jersey circuit, in upstate New York, Middletown, Orangeburg pub, like that. So I did that for about a year and a half. We went up to Canada for a week as an original act called Spitfire. We were booked up there by The Agency, which is like the biggest booking agency in Canada. Brian Adams, Rush, everybody, all the big bands, Saga.
Right.
So we did that for about a week. We played 5 clubs. We came back. I'm not a 420 pothead guy. Never was. So the other guys in the band, they're all potheads. So I never bonded with them on that level, So I was kind of always the outsider like that. Even though when I joined E. Walker, it did significantly increase their following, because I was like the new guy, the new face, like that, So after I come back from Canada, things started to get a little weird. There was, these guys have a habit. Like I came in and replaced their bass player. Well, Guy Walker was a band of constantly. They went through like I can't tell you how many, 7, 8, 9, 10 bass players.
Wow.
It's just this bands rotate like the Hollywood bands. They rotate.
Yeah.
So the girl I was going out with at the time, she became friends with this other girl she met at the club who had a boyfriend who was a guitar player. That would be David Ferrara. And David Ferrara was one of the guitar players the first time I heard about Shrapnel. David Ferrara was one of the guitar players that were being showcased on Mike Varney's U.S. Metal series.
Yes.
Okay. And on Shrapnel Records. And he had one of his songs in there. If it was Aggressor or if it was it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. But the girls got to talking, introduced me and David. David and I, he was a real smart ass like me. But we're both Capricorns, so we kind of got along on that level, We tossed the idea about putting a band together, and so we were doing like all the heavier stuff of the top 40. So we were doing like Scorpions and Rush, Iron Maiden, Van Halen, all just Saxon, all the real heavy stuff like that, Sabbath. That, and so we formed this band, Aggressor. We had a 17-year-old drummer. I don't know how we got him into clubs like that, and we started to put a dent in E. Walker's following because everybody found out I left E. Walker now, so now they're coming over to see us,
right,
like that, and it was doing pretty good. Now during this time, during the day, the day job, back down in the village. These guys come in. They were vacationing from California, and they came to New York to see Twisted Sister playing at some festival.
Oh,
wow. So I said, well, I'm friends with some of the guys in Twisted Sister. And like, no, really? Wow. And we got to talking about Kiss, and I said, well, I told them a story about how I'm friends with the guys in Kiss. So it's like you could amaze these guys just by saying you were personal friends with the actual band that they idolized. You might as well have been talking to one of the members themselves.
Sure.
And the guy goes, well, you kind of look like Punky Meadows. At this point, I did,
Punky Meadows from Angel.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Punky had the exact same hairstyle.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Wow.
So these guys go, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a bass player. And they asked me for a picture, and I showed them, when I was playing with E. Walker, here's a live shot. And they said, well, we know a band in California you would be perfect for. You kind of look a little like this guy. Had I known they were talking about Lawless, I would have disagreed with them. But because Lawless and I look nothing alike. But they said, well, when we go back to California, give us a picture and a phone number, and we'll tell them about you. I said, okay. Wow. And look, I could never imagine myself in a million years going to up out of New York and go fly to California to audition for a band. It's funny how things happen.
But so you're saying they knew Blackie.
They were fans of Blackie from what he had done gigs already in California.
What Sister and the other stuff that he
Sister and London, yeah. These were like kids that would go to the Starwood and the Troubadour and whatever the hot bands were playing. Right. So I thought that was the end of it. I never was going to see him again. And I'm going out playing with Aggressor at the clubs on the weekends, and then I get a phone call. Well, my next door neighbor had the phone. My phone was shut off. So they call me, and I come next door, and it's this guy, Blackie Lawless, and he says, the kids came. They went to visit New York. They came down to the studio, and they gave me your picture and the phone number, and they said I should check you out. That you would be perfect for my band. And I said, oh, okay, and like that, and we just had conversations, like 20 minutes in a clip to half an hour in a clip. He's trying to convince me to come out to California. He said, you got a great look, like that. And I said, yeah, but I live here. That's the whole thing, to just up and come down to California just on a possibility like that. He says, well, we'll pay your flight out. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, we'll fly you back. Little did I know Blackie was broke. Brocky was broke. I don't know where he'd get his money from, So we made an arrangement, and flew me out to California. I can't stay long story short because that's too late already. But they flew me out to California. It was February 4th, 1982. And
coming up 40 years already.
Yeah. I get off the plane and there's Blackie in the terminal with Randy and Tony, and this other guy, Mike Solon. Well, Mike Solon was the guy who was like, I don't want to say he's Blackie's assistant, but Blackie's car wasn't working. So whenever Blackie needed a ride, Mike would come pick him up.
Okay.
Now, Mike Solon, for your trivia people, is the guy who plays the bartender in the Wasp video, Blind in Texas.
Okay. I know who he is. Okay.
When Blackie goes up, we got a gig, and he goes, "What's a gig?"
What's a gig? Yeah.
So that's Mike Solon. Now, Mike Solon, his brother Eddie, was Ace Frehley's guitar tech and one of the first soundmen for Kiss.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
You see how he connected dots?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Small world, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
Mike was there. He came. Randy and Tony took my gear to Randy's studio in Anaheim, and Mike drove me and Blackie back up to Blackie's house in Hollywood. And it was a day or so to get rid of the jet lag and whatnot. But Blackie took me out to the Troubadour, and I met David Lee Roth. I met Kevin DeBro.
Right.
Kevin was nice. He warned me about how backstabbing the LA scene can be. He was the first one to do that.
Right.
Like that. And then we hung out at the Troubadour for an hour or two, and then Blackie said, "Let's go up to the Rainbow." I'm seeing all these places for the first time. I walk into the Rainbow, and this is like where Zeppelin used to hang out. It was like the club for rock stars in Hollywood. Yeah. And so we go into Rainbow, and there's Punky Meadows standing there.
Wow. Okay.
What are you doing out here? I said I came out to audition for Blackie's band. So he goes, "All right, congratulations." Michael Diamond was there from Legs Diamond. Like that, and so we get a table, we sit down. I'm watching people. I haven't seen this before. Come on, us New Yorkers, we eat pizza with our hand.
Yeah,
these people eating pizza with a knife and a fork.
Oh man, well,
so I'm busting up laughing. Yeah,
we had 8 years of a mayor that did that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, De Blasio did that.
Blasio.
Yeah. So who comes walking over, sits down at the table with us? David friggin' Lee Roth. I'm like, pinch me. I just saw this guy at the Palladium like a year before, 2 years before, when Van Halen played the Palladium. And here's David Lee Roth sitting at the table with me and Blackie. I was like, Jesus, people dream of this stuff, and like that. So a couple of days go by. I didn't audition until actually February 6th. Okay. I arrived on the 4th. So February 6th, we go down to Randy's studio. I didn't really have. Blackie had sent me a demo tape with songs on it, but it was nothing that I had to learn to audition with them. Okay, so right. They didn't have all of those songs on tape yet. So I sat there and they ran through the set twice. It was like 5 songs.
Yeah.
On Your Knees. What the hell is it? School Days, BAD, Sleeping in the Fire, and what the hell is it? Hellion.
Hellion, yeah.
So they ran through those 5 songs, and he goes, "All right, come on up. Now's the moment of truth." I get up, and I play along with him. I'm pretty much got the patterns figured out. This is not rocket science. This is three chord rock stuff. It's really easy.
Yeah.
But I come from a background of playing, cover bands. I got developed a melodic bass style because I had to cover different bass players. And Blackie's going, can you play simpler? Can you play simpler? I'm like, it's 3 chords. How much simpler can I be?
How much more? Right. How much more simple?
He goes, well, just play quarter notes. Just play 8th notes, like that. Because in California at that time, in the 70s, you had guitar players and bass players who played the same line together.
Yeah.
Felix Pappalardi and Leslie West played the same guitar lines together,
right.
Like that. And now in California, the guitar plays the pattern, and the bass just keeps along underneath that. Just keeps the rumble under it.
The rumble underneath. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So now I got to dumb it down a little bit and play it super simple. And the audition went okay. They still couldn't make up their mind. They liked what they heard. They said, "Let's give it another shot." So we went back again down there on February 8th. I went through the set again. I had the stuff down. I mean, it wasn't that difficult. And Blackie turns around and goes, "All right, you got the gig." So that was it. That's how I got the gig. But they were called Sister. They weren't called Wasp yet.
Right.
Wow.
You know, they had a pentagram on a T-shirt, upside down pentagram with the word Sister, but it was all lowercase and it was like on fire. That was their logo.
Yeah.
But Blackie told me, he goes, "There's too many bands with the name Sister in it. You got Twisted Sister, you got White Sister." He goes, we need a new name, a new theme. We need to do everything. This is going to be like a whole brand new band, you know. And that's when it led to me being on the phone outside his house, and I stepped on the leaf with the hornet under it, and I turned it over and I saw the wasp.
Yeah.
And I go in the house and he's watching the Yankee game. I said, "Blackie, I got an idea for the band name." And he goes, looks up at me, he goes, "What?" And I said, "Wasp." I said, "I just stepped on one outside." I said, "Remember the Green Hornet logo with like it's curled and it got the stinger?"
Yeah.
And
Shit.
And would make that optic pad like
Right.
You know, and I told him about that. And he's looking at the ceiling and he's thinking. He goes, "That's a good idea." He goes, "Keep thinking like that." And the next time we went down to rehearsal, we rehearsed the whole night, and then we had a band meeting afterwards. Blackie gets us all together. They're outside of Randy's office. He goes, "We got a new name for the band." And Randy goes, "Well, what's that?" And he goes, "Wasp." And that's when Tony goes, "Wasp? Who names a band after a bug?" You know, and I said, "The Beatles." You know, Scorpions.
Yeah.
Scorpions.
Yeah, I mean, like, how hard is that?
And Blackie goes, "That's it. That's the name of the band. It's going to be Wasp."
But it had there were no periods between the.
No,
it was just Wasp.
He did that later after he kicked me out. So he thought I would try and sue them.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd heard that.
That's why he added the periods.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
and then they tried to say it stood for something else, but you know.
Well, he couldn't come out and honestly say it without admitting that I was in the band, and that's the thing.
Right.
He doesn't want to admit that I was in the band. He censors that.
Yes.
So when people ask him what does WASP stand for, when he said in the interview, "We ain't sure, pal," he's telling the truth there.
Because we ain't sure, pal. Yeah.
But you know, in retrospect, it's come to mean we're all side players.
Okay.
Wow.
When Full and Bloom interviewed Randy Piper, they brought that up, and he laughed. He goes, "Well, that's not what it was then, but that's what it wound up being. We're all side players."
Yeah, what it became.
Wow.
Damn. But so you were with them for a few months, right?
4 months.
4 months. And how did it end? I mean, what did they say to you?
Well, early on, you know, Blackie was real happy with the way it was turning out, and then he said, "We're gonna do a recording. We're gonna make a demo." I said, "Okay, fine." So he got an old reel-to-reel. He said we were recording this live 3-track. I never heard of being recorded live 3-track before, but that's what we did. You know, and he set the recorder in the middle of the room. It's a huge room. Set it and hit record, run back, and he'd have his guitar plugged in, and then we just count it off and like that and play. So we did the 5 songs that I auditioned on, and at that point I was already co-writing with him. We had a song called "Master of Disaster," and that's the 6th song on the demo. It was the last song on the demo. Like that. And then to this day, some people feel that because Blackie doesn't throw away any ideas, some people seem to think that Master Disaster was cut up and surgically turned into Wild Child because the similarities are very close to each other.
Okay.
And the song structure like that. So we recorded the demo. Blackie was real happy, told me he was real happy with it. And then he called up a guy, photographer from that area, Don Atkins Jr. Don shot Motley Crue. Don shot like all the bands that played there. So he called Don up. Don had us come over to his parents' house. I think it was like Torrance or Downey or something. Torrance, I think. Then we did a photo session at Don's parents' house. That's all the pictures you see of me and the band.
Yeah.
And you know, if you look at the pictures, it looks like to me a hammer, saw, nails, milk. It's like, what doesn't fit? You got these 3 guys that look like convicts, and you got this like the pretty boy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay, something
doesn't gel.
Yeah, you know, like that. But so it was that way for 4 months, and then One day, Blackie just comes up. He's not talking to me. He's like being distant. It's like I thought something's on his mind. Something's bugging him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to talk to me. So finally, it's like he sits down and goes, "Look, we got to talk." I never heard that saying before. That was the first time I was introduced to it. Listen, we got to talk. And he says, "It's not working out." He goes, "Randy's not happy. Tony's not happy. And I can't have that. So you're going to have to leave the band. You can't stay here. You want to stay in California? I would advise you to stay in California if you want to make it, but you can't stay here. So you're out of the band. And the kicker is you want to surrender all your copies of the band photos."
Wow.
I was like, "Why?" He goes, "It's my band. They're my pictures." I can't even have any record of fact that I was with this band. No. So when he wasn't around, I found the negatives. I went up to Sunset Boulevard. I had a bunch of pictures printed. When I came back, he found out the negatives were missing. He went ballistic, yelling and screaming at me. And I luckily this time I tucked a few of the pictures away. He goes, "Give me everything you just had printed." And I had to give him those pictures. But the other stuff, like I said, I tucked away secretly. So he didn't. That's intent. He doesn't want anybody to be able to prove that I had any connection to the band.
That's terrible.
And he just kicks me out of the band just like that. You know.
Well, I mean, the live shows with you, from all indications, what I've heard, you guys were doing pretty good.
I never played live at Wasp.
You didn't play live with Wasp? Okay, my mistake.
I just rehearsed for 4 months.
They never did a live show with you?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
After me, he brought Don Costa in.
Oh.
Now, Don at first, come to find out later, he had already pitched Don to play in the band before me, and Don kept turning him down. Don didn't want to have anything to do with Blackie. Blackie had a reputation. A lot of people didn't want to have anything to do with him. And before I joined, their drummer was Gary Holland. Tony was in Dante Fox with Jack Russell and Mark.
Okay.
But Dante Fox changed their name to Great White. And then both bands swapped drummers. Gary left Sister and joined Great White, and Tony left Great White and joined Sister. See, so there was a lot of people that didn't want to play with Blackie, and Donnie was one of them. But he finally convinced him because they had some gigs coming up or something. So Don came in and did one or two shows with him, upstaged Blackie, used the cheese grater, made his knuckles bleed, and Blackie kicked him out. Like that.
Wow.
And then Donnie went on to play with Ozzy Osbourne, and he upstaged Ozzy. And Ozzy turned around and punched him in the mouth, kicked him out of the band.
Damn.
So, there's that.
Damn. You know, it's almost like he's just trying to write you out of the whole history of the band.
Exactly.
You know,
his fans, I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, his fans are like absolutely off the map, insane. They hate me. You know, I've never seen anything like this in anything, not just rock and roll, but in the film industry, any kind of form of entertainment industry or media. I've never seen such hatred by fans.
Wow.
Towards me. Now, not all of them. I got interviewed for a book called Wasp: A Sting in the Tail.
Yes.
By Darren Upton over in the UK.
Upton, right.
And Darren said, "You represent a very important missing puzzle piece in the history of early Wasp. Blackie doesn't want that out because it discounts his version. He starts the band with Chris Holmes.
Yeah. That's not true.
He doesn't, you know, he.
But everybody knows this. I mean, it's.
Yeah, go figure. Everybody already knows this, but yet he still stands by the fact that I was never in the band.
He's in denial. That's why.
And I'm a member of Darren's Facebook page. You know, Wasp Sting in the Tail, and there's a few fans in there that back me up. You know, he says there's some fans that agree with you and they believe you. They've seen the pictures. They've heard the demo. They believe it's true. They've seen Randy Piper's got an interview with Full and Blue where he says, they ask him, was Rik in the band? Yes, he was. Did Rik come up with the name? Yes, he did. Like that. And these fans just still, they don't agree to it. They push it aside. They bury it like that. And he goes, well, they're like, where's your gold records? Where's your tour? I didn't get that far.
Yeah.
You know? But history is full of rock bands with members who leave before the band gets big.
Yeah.
Well, look at, you know, I'll bring it up again, Rick Rivets. Okay. written out of the New York Dolls history.
Right.
Okay. Right. I won't go into all that too much, and you had it way worse with Wasp, but definitely Rick Rivets was there, started the band.
Yep.
Okay. Played one gig with Johansson on lead vocals because originally it was Thunder's singing. Okay. Yeah. Johansson comes in, they do one gig like that before Sylvain is in the band.
Yep.
And it wasn't going to work because Johansson and Rivets didn't get along. Okay.
Okay.
And there's some other things too, but he had the Brats in his sights then anyway. Okay.